Hi everybody, I'm Gary Rebholz and welcome to our YouTube channel and this presentation from Vegas Creative Software. We are going to talk today about the creative process. Some of you have seen me before on this channel on YouTube and other channels doing training for our software, for Vegas Pro and other software. Some of you I'm meeting for the first time, so welcome to everybody who's here, and I appreciate you stopping by to watch the video. As I said, we're going to talk about, instead of training today, we'll be talking about the creative process. We're going to talk about your process, the process that you go through to create the videos that you create, to create the projects that you create, and do the things that you do to turn your creativity and your artistry into videos and audio media that people can watch and enjoy. Now, I'm the host of our show today, but the program is also being sponsored by Intel and HP, because we wanted to talk about the entire process of creativity, the entire creative process. And that includes not only the creativity that you put into it, but also the technology behind it. So we wanted to talk to our friends at Intel and HP to talk a little bit about the technology behind the process of video editing. Now, we are going to talk about everything from the guts to the creative vision at the top. So we're going to talk to Intel about the processing power that goes into powering video editing. As you know better than anyone, video editing takes huge amounts of processing power and puts great demands on your hardware. So Intel is working hard to always be increasing processing speeds, and we're going to talk to them a little bit about that. We also have a representative here from HP, because without a form factor, without the computer, without your laptop, without a way to use the processing power provided by Intel, that processing power would be useless. So HP provides the box and the hands-on experience for working on your productions. So we're going to talk to them a little bit about that. Then I myself will talk a little bit about Vegas Pro, the intersection between creativity and the technology, where it all comes together for you to be able to realize your vision. And then finally, we're going to talk to one of your own. We're going to talk to a person who's a video creator, a photographer, a videographer, who's made it his life's mission to travel the world making video. And he's got a lot of really cool stories, and it's going to be fun to talk to him. So, as I said, I'm going to introduce these people, so let's do that now. First, I'd like to introduce you to Amber Galst. Amber is with Intel. She's joining us from Portland, Oregon in the US. Amber, if you would, give us a little idea of who you are and what you do for Intel.
Sure. And thanks for having me here. So yeah, my name's Amber. I'm from Intel. And what I do is I am the Creator Segment Innovation Manager. And what that mouthful means is essentially I work on the future for mobile computing and what that looks like, what that ecosystem looks like, partnering with awesome people like HP and Magix to ensure that y'all actually have a pretty righteous creation experience. So in my presentation later today, I'll give y'all a little bit of a sneak peek at that, and just looking forward to it. So thanks for having me here.
Cool, thanks, Amber. And moving a little bit further up the production chain, we're going to talk to Tim Schwarze from HP in Berlin. Tim, you're based in Böblinge, right outside of Stuttgart, as I understand it. Can you tell people a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Tim, my name, and I'm a product manager for workstations. So for all the creative professional devices which we will be using, or which will you guys be using with your famous software. And we have a few ideas how these products will be shaped, and I'm just wanted to provide a little bit of an outlook how these products will be looking in the future and right now.
Cool, thanks, Tim. And finally, we're going to talk with the star of our show, Laci Kobulsky. Laci is joining us from his home in Slovakia. He's just fresh off of a trip to the Dominican Republic. He's going to tell us a little bit more about that. But Laci, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, thanks, Gary, and thanks everybody for having me. And yeah, it's really a great honor to be invited as a star. So I hope I'm going to live up to this reputation. And yeah, I'm from Slovakia, but I do travel most of the year around the world. And I chose to do filmmaking and photography. Sort of, it was a combination of like, I started with a passion for extreme sports like snowboarding, kiteboarding, and then I was just recording some movies with my friends, and soon enough, some people offered to pay me money for that. So why not? And yeah, now it's my livelihood. I studied marketing, so I'm trying to combine it all together and be this one-man stop basically for these services. And basically, my business would not be there if there would not be such technologies, because 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't have like one guy, filmmaker, editor. You would have to hire a production, like TV production. So these days you have plenty of people doing that, obviously, because it's really nice business. So yeah, I'm also curious to hear from HP and Intel what's coming up next, because every year the news is very, very interesting to hear.
Great, thanks, Laci. So we're going to talk to each of these guests shortly, and I'm glad you're all here and welcome. But if you don't mind, first, I would like to take a few minutes to talk about Vegas Creative Software and Vegas Pro, because I know that many of the people tuning into this presentation don't necessarily know much about us or about the software. So Bill, if you wouldn't mind bringing up the first slide, let's talk a little bit about Vegas Pro and Vegas Creative Software. Vegas Creative Software is a relatively small development group based in the US, in Madison, Wisconsin. We also have developers on each coast of the United States, and we have some developers in Germany that are housed in our parent company, Magix. And we work on creative software. We work on, as the name implies, creative software that helps you to do your jobs, helps you to tell your stories, to turn your creative visions into something that people can actually experience and see for themselves, even though they haven't been there to experience it with you. We have essentially a line of professional products that you see on the screen here before you, including Vegas Stream, which is a streaming software that we're actually currently using to switch back and forth between all of our guests and the slides and everything we're going to show here today. We can also use that to stream live to YouTube and Facebook and other streaming destinations. What I really want to focus on today is Vegas Pro, and at the top of the Vegas Pro line is the Vegas Post offering. And the Vegas Post package includes Vegas Pro, which is a video editor, audio editor, but it also includes compositing tools with Vegas Effects, and it includes image editing tools with Vegas Image. So really the line of Vegas Pro starts with the editor itself, with the tool that you use to cut your video together, and moves up into sophisticated compositing, particle generation, motion tracking, all of these things. Next slide, please, Bill. So Vegas Pro is really famous for its fast, lean cutting environment. The way to summarize it without going into a whole lot of detail is what we hear so often from our users is Vegas Pro just stays out of my way and lets my creativity flow. The tools are there. The tools do everything you need them to do. Motion tracking, stabilization, audio tools that are second to none, compositing, everything you need to do is in Vegas Pro, but it's presented in a logical, easy to use way that makes it just quick and and easy to get your job done without interrupting your creative flow. Next slide, please, Bill. So just some of the highlights of Vegas Pro: we've got a robust color grading and filters and effects systems. So you need to do your color grading. You need to add filters, noise filters, gradient filters, whatever you're using. We've got complete OFX implementation, a dedicated color grading panel, video scopes that are accurate and available for you to use anytime. And all of this stuff is fully HDR aware and compatible, which obviously is important in today's growing popularity of HDR. And this is where we rely so heavily on Intel to power our HDR workflow. And so we've got that. Let's go ahead to the next slide. So the HDR workflow is it's complete. HDR10, HLG. We support ASUS, and we're always keeping up with the latest ASUS updates, color spaces. You can go to master, external monitoring, color spaces, grading, all of these things, all done in HDR, and all the way up to 8K resolutions. Next slide, please, Bill. The other thing that we have implemented in the latest version of Vegas Pro is our first entries into the artificial intelligence world. Now, obviously, artificial intelligence, if you watch the movies, has all kinds of crazy implications, but it actually has extremely relevant implications for video editors. We implemented AI into the current version of Vegas Pro. We leverage very strongly Intel's OpenVINO to introduce some of this AI, and this is just the beginning for us. You can see here on the slide that I've got an original black and white piece of footage which I've colorized with our colorization tool, and I've turned into sort of a Van Gogh Starry Starry Night painting with our style transfer plugin. And those are the first two AI plugins that we introduced in Vegas Pro, but we've got much more coming up in future versions. So hang on tight for that. Thanks for indulging me for a second while I talked about Vegas Pro, but what I really want to get into now is let's talk to Laci. As I said at the beginning, and Laci, when he was introducing himself, he's a filmmaker, and he travels the world doing what he loves to do. And the reason we wanted to have you on, Laci, is because you're doing what so many of the creators out there would like to do. And many people may feel it's not possible to do what they want to do, but you've proven that it is possible to take your passion and turn it into your living. And so we'd like to talk to you quite a bit more about that. Now, you are just back from the Dominican Republic, and you created a video for us, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. One special video only for you guys. So I hope you're going to
Cool.
enjoy that.
So maybe let's watch that video first, and then we'll talk a little bit more after that.
Looking forward. Enjoy.
Cool.
My name is Laci Kobulsky, and today I would like to show you what goes behind the scenes while creating captivating content for social media. I was recently in Dominican Republic shooting a new product range for kiteboarding brand, and we were lucky to discover Unspoiled Island, perfect for our shoot. The final product looks like we are living a dream life, and while we do love our job, there is a lot of hardship and challenges, from initial logistics to tackling the weather and taking care of our gear in the hostile environment. I can never fully script such shoots, but I do prepare multiple shooting scenarios, and when I'm on the spot, I choose what to do based on the current conditions and weather. On this day, we had offshore wind with perfect turquoise flat water close to the beach, so it was ideal to run alongside the beach and get some cinematic gimbal shots. After that, I went into water to shoot with water housing, and we ended the session with few drone flybys. For us, creatives on the go, it is also important to do a quality check of our material right after the shoot at the location. Shooting on location is only one part of our job. Next one is back home in editing room, where we process and edit all the footage. Before editing, I need to talk to the client and make sure our visions are perfectly aligned. Most of the post-process time I spend on importing and sorting the assets. We often have hundreds of gigabytes coming back from the shoot, and I need to watch everything, sort it out and cut the portions of the clips that I would like to use later. Next step is the most creative part, when everything falls together. I always edit to the music and select from pre-cut clips, adding transitions and speed ramps on the go. In this step, it is helpful to have a powerful machine that can preview the project in real time.
In the past, it was possible only on powerful desktop computers, but thanks to Intel hardware acceleration and Vega's creative software, we can now enjoy such perks even on portable laptops.
After the rough cut, I add additional effects, stabilization, reframing and color grading. In this step, it's important to work with laptops that have color-accurate screens that offer rich details. All steps are equally important in my workflow. But less time I spend tackling the technical issues, more time I have to focus on my artistic vision, and thanks to software optimization done by Magix and Intel, I can now have real-time preview with fast render times. So the last step is only to sit back, hit the play button and enjoy the results of my work.
Yeah, that's outstanding. Nice job on that, Laci. That's really cool. And there are a lot of things I really like about that video. But there are a couple of things in particular that you mentioned that I'd like to talk about here briefly, because I think it's really, the video is super inspirational for anybody who's thinking about doing something like this. One of the interesting things that you actually said in the video is, you know, we see these videos of kite surfers and beautiful places and beautiful people and all this stuff, and we think, wow, I want to do that for a living. That must just be great. But you say in the video yourself, you talk about it's not all glamour.
No, I mean, I don't want to discourage anybody, and obviously that's what I choose to do. But if you want to be like rich, for example, that's not the path. You want to like study and get a job, right? Obviously, you can earn some good money with that, but that's not why would you choose it in the first place. And second is, I mean, you know, the world of Instagram is not the real world, and you have to, it's different world what you see online and what you see in real time. Like, we do love what we do, but like recording is one thing and kiteboarding is another thing. So, for example, in this instance, you know, like maybe I tried in the video to have the idea of like to show people you know, it also takes a lot of work, but like I see when I watch the video, it's maybe not making it justice, because when I watch it, it still looks pretty sweet. Like, wow, we go to the island, we do all this stuff, but the story behind is more like, we have to organize everything. We have to find where to go. The island, it's like, you know, our boat drive from where we lived, which was even like 4 hours drive there. You have to organize everything, get the driver, get the permissions, and then you arrive there. The rider, the weather has to be good, wind has to be good, you know, and there is sand blowing everywhere. You're setting up your gimbal, you know, and the drones. And then the riders maybe are not having a good day, so they're not performing. In this case, luckily they were, so it was all fine. And then you're rushing, you know, like you're sweating, obviously, you're rushing. But then I think like when I record some good trick, you know, I'm almost as stoked as athletes, because it's another thing, you know, it takes a lot of effort to do something, but it wouldn't be fun otherwise. I mean, if it's easy, it wouldn't be fun, right? So it's hard, and that's why it's fun. That's the short answer, I would say. But if somebody wants to do something like that, you can. I mean, just grab the camera and start filming whatever you're passionate about. And I mean, it's gonna become a job eventually, but it's coming much later.
Yeah, it's really cool. We were talking a little earlier, and you were saying something about standing in a lagoon with jellyfish all around you, and these don't sound like pleasant things, but it's kind of like body for the art, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's no adventure is pleasant whilst you're at adventure. It's adventurous when you talk about it later on, right? So it was not in the same beach, but it was on another part when we filmed, like jumping over the mangroves, and yeah, there were like the picture looks amazing because it's a mangrove in the turquoise water, and you're like, oh my god, I want to be there. But it was in this part of the month, it was infested with jellyfishes, so we're getting absolutely like eaten, by those. And you don't see that in the picture, obviously, but that's the real part. And sometimes, like, you're lucky and things come easily, but sometimes they are hard. And yeah, you can never choose, like you can have sort of idea what you want, but in this line of work, which I do, you sort of have to be prepared for everything. And yeah, you need to have a B plan, C plan, D plan, and multiple options.
Yeah, so there are a lot of people watching that aspire to do what you do. So what's special about you? What makes it possible for you to do this and not somebody else?
What is special? I would say that I'm sort of like a one-stop man. I can deliver a lot of stuff in one person. I would say. I studied marketing. I have a master in marketing from Rotterdam. So on every project, I look from the perspective from the marketing perspective. So I look at it as a marketer. Who's your client? What's the channels of distribution? And this sort of stuff. And then when I have like idea, I basically hand it to the creator part, to a filmmaker, and then I'm gonna, prepare the script based on the marketing, And this often, it's fighting, because you have some marketing guy and then you have some creator guy, and creator guy is looking at the art and marketing guy is looking at marketing, and I'm trying to combine that. And on top of that, I'm doing like photography, and I'm also for certain clients that wants to do that, I'm also taking care of the output, So for example, in case of the kiteboarding, that's a brand called Crazy Fly, and I do also social media for them. So I create a plan basically, and then I shoot, I make pictures, videos, and then I also post it and share it and spread it. So if they wouldn't have me, they would basically have to hire at least 2 people, because they would have to hire photographer and a filmmaker on the shoot. So, but also I don't want to be like a person that is doing, that somebody hires because I'm cheaper, obviously. I want to do the good job, and I want it to be looking as good as possible. But yeah, I think if there is something special, would you ask me? I think that would be that, like a complex service.
Yeah, I think that's the point, is that actually it's not like you're some kind of superhuman or superhero guy. You're just somebody who has taken a hold of the process and been willing to do whatever you need to do to take advantage of it. And that's something that any of us can do. It just takes a little bit of grit and guts and some determination. So that's really cool to see. I mean, here you are, a guy sitting in your bedroom in Slovakia talking to us, right? And you're normally traveling around the world doing this. I mean, if you can do it from Slovakia, you can do it from wherever you are, right? So I mean, it's really inspiring.
Slovakia is a pretty good place, and I when I do travel, I feel privileged a lot, and I'm trying to also communicate it to Slovak people. I mean, we do have visa-free access to most of the world, and cost of living in Slovakia is not high, so it's easy for me to travel the world. But I do have lots of friends around the world, from Africa, even Caribbean, and for them it's not so easy. Like even the guy you saw in the video, Posito, he's from Dominican Republic, and he's one of the best kiteboarders in the world, and he wants to travel to competition around the world, and it's super big trouble for him to get a visa. For example, now there is competition in Tarifa, and he struggles to get a visa to Spain. And so Slovakia is not that bad place, I would say. I am sort of privileged in this matter, and I do realize that, and I do feel bad to some extent. But yeah, you're right. I'm one of known filmmaker and photographers in kiteboarding, a sport that is performed on the sea, and Slovakia has no sea. So you're right. If I can do that, I guess whoever can do whatever. But I do have the options, so it's easy for me, relatively speaking.
Well, it's interesting that you say that Slovakia is not on the sea, because one of the other things that was cool in that video is that And this is the art of video making, right? This is the art of filmmaking. Let's talk about the process for a second. You didn't shoot every shot that we saw in that video in the Dominican Republic, right? I mean, there are some shots in there that you shot somewhere near your home. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you mean the plug that I did in Dominican Republic?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the feedback from, I think it was from Intel or HP side, I'm not sure, that in a video should be like somehow, like, oh, if I can plug in the shot of me checking the stuff on the beach, and well, I was already back home in Slovakia, so yeah, I cannot do that because I cannot just travel back to Dominican Republic. But we went beside our house, we went on a field, and I positioned the shot that it sort of looks like I'm there with the blue sky. Yeah, so this one was faked, obviously, but you can always try to fake it well.
Well, that's the point. I mean, that's the magic of filmmaking right there. Nobody would know that that was faked until you and I just told them it was faked. And
yeah,
and it's just that kind of creativity and that kind of resourcefulness that makes it all happen. I know you have.
But just to stay the record, but the rest was very, 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 very true. Like when I did film for a product shoot, and my girlfriend was just filming with the GoPro, the BTS. So I actually did the shooting, and the scenes when I was editing in my home, because we were in quarantine when we returned home, I couldn't be in my office. Well, we did set up the lights so it looks better than it would usually do. And normally I'm not looking so nice when I look in the computer, but I did edit the short video while she was filming me. So in this sense, it's honest.
Yeah, cool. I know you had a slide that talks about your process a little bit. So let's kind of shift the discussion toward the process and the tools that you're using to do your job. Yeah, can you kind of walk us through this?
Yeah, so guys at Intel, they helped me to create this slide, and I think it was super interesting to see because a lot of people ask me how do I approach editing, and also a lot of clients they want to see what comes in the editing process and what takes a lot of time. So here we have like 6 parts. So basically we have import, we have pre-production, import, editing, effect, encoding, and sharing. And we sort of allocated the artist time. What do I spend on each part? So I'm just going to briefly talk about those. In pre-production, that time varies, based on a project, but it's super important to have the idea and vision of the projects before we shoot, because in the past I didn't do that as much as I do now, and we end up having a trouble after because the client was maybe imagining something else and they have demands that I cannot fulfill later on. So yeah, we need to talk about it, and ideally we need to find the music before, because every creator knows that the worst feedback you can ever have on a project is like, it's all good, but can you please change the music? I mean, yes, it's possible to change the music, but it basically means I have to redo the whole edit, because if something is edited to the music, like changing music is not an easy option. So yeah, spend a lot of time on pre-production. I always need to have music approved before I'm touching the shots. And then the biggest part of my process is definitely the import, because we have hundreds of gigabytes, like I said in a video, that comes in my editing room, and I need to make sense in them. I need to organize them well, because when I'm editing, I don't want to be distracted by looking what is where. So I'm carefully picking all the in this example from the video, that was relatively easy because I just selected small group of files, but from the project from Dominican, I have 500 GB of data, from all the footage. So I need to organize that. I need to know what is where. So when I'm editing, I'm just I know where to go when I need particular shot. And then, the editing, I would say this is the most fun part. And this is the only part which I cannot force myself. When you try to focus on a work, on each other step, I can sort of grind through, but editing, I'm not doing that, because when I'm feeling off, when I don't feel motivated, I'm not going to do editing, because I know I'm not going to do a good job. I need to feel motivated. So it doesn't take a lot of time, surprisingly, to edit, because I have my music ready, I have my pre-cuts of the shots ready, and I'm basically slotting them in as they go. And so it doesn't take a lot of time, but preparation is key for this process. And yeah, I'm just trying to like be in a zone, try to feel the edit, what it's supposed to be. And, when I feel like tired or like when I feel not motivated enough, I stop and I do it later because, yeah, it is the most important part in the end of the day and it's the most creative part. And then, yeah, the rest is more or less, you can say grind, to put on all the color grading, stabilization and stuff. And yeah, there for sure, in these parts helps to have like software that is like, Vegas, I think you said it really well in the beginning, it's a software that just doesn't come into your way, So if you need, to do some effect, you know where it is, slot it in. You don't want to waste your time, like doing some complicated, like even in color grading, the Vegas has interface, it comes up, you can color it, done, and you can move on, And finally, the encoding, getting that's pretty straightforward. For many people, it's important to have like fast rendering times, because then you don't spend time. For me, for sure, it helps. But in the end of the day, I don't mind that much because when you hit the render button, you can get a coffee or something. And but yeah, for sure, it helps because I remember in a couple of years ago, I needed to export like a half-hour long documentary, and that took, almost a half day. But now it's much, much, much faster. I would say like with the new laptop, it's like 4 times faster. So for this kind of project, that helps. And for me, the sharing is also a big part of the job because I'm trying for most of my clients, I'm also working on delivery, so I know where to share it. I contact the media. I make the different versions for social media, and I think it's a big also appeal for clients because you don't only hand out the project, the video, and okay, there you go, do whatever you want, but you're also like helping them to distribute if they need that help.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's fun for me, and I'm sure for Tim and Amber as well, to see where our pieces fit into that process. For me personally, I'm not a video creator, right? I don't have those kinds of skills, but it's a way for me to feel like I'm part of your creative process and everybody's creative process when they're using our tools. And it's neat to see what pieces of that process Vegas Pro fits into, but it's also cool. I know that you were telling us earlier offline that you're not necessarily one that likes to edit out in the field, but you could with your HP laptop, but you'd like to take it back to the hotel or whatever your room you're renting to do your editing on a desk, right?
Yeah, I think what you mentioned before was I don't like to edit on the go. I'm not a sort of person that would open my laptop on a plane or on a train ride or somewhere on the go where I'm commuting because, yeah, I just don't feel I can be concentrated enough. Maybe I can do some mundane task like replying to emails or something, but I mentioned it before, I think offline, maybe 20 years ago, like this wouldn't be possible because you need to have like really huge computer back home to edit the footage and stuff. So it's a production company, but I don't have a desktop. I only have the laptop and I can do everything with my laptops. And I do record I do record 4K files in 10-bit color depth. So that's very heavy and hardware intensive video making, and my camera, it's Netflix approved, so like in theory, fingers crossed, I can do something for Netflix with what I have with a laptop. It's insane. 10 years ago it would not be possible, hands down. Now these days, yeah, easy, why not? So yeah, but I do for sure, like, yeah, to do a good job you need to sit down and focus on it.
Yeah, but that's the cool key piece of it, is that you can do it at night in the hotel room or whatever. When you're done with the shoot, then you can focus if you want to, or you can take it back to your studio back home. And
no, I do. Like, for example, when I'm on the shoot, I'm always editing pictures on the laptop because I like to have this done when I'm exiting the shoot. And I also do sort all the files because I'm doing the first sorting as early as possible, because then you still have the memory of the images, So for example, in the files when you're going through, like, okay, here only the last take was good, so I can straight delete the first 3, when I go back. So I do the sorting on my laptop like after the shoot, right? But the editing, I guess, I would do later when I come back home.
Cool. Well, yeah, it's really inspiring, and I think we probably should move on to one of our other guests. But is there anything that, excuse me, that I didn't that we didn't talk about that you want to mention?
No, I'm all good. I'm also looking forward to hear what's coming next. And for me, like, if anybody feels inspired and want to do what I do, like, my message would be just first, you need to start with a passion, because I think it's really hard to start to become a filmmaker if you just want to become a filmmaker. You know, I didn't become a filmmaker. I became a filmmaker because I was passionate about kiteboarding and snowboarding, and I wanted to capture that. I was watching these movies, and I wanted to do the same with me and my friends. And this led me to filmmaking, and now I'm trying to broaden up, and I'm trying to do different projects besides the action sports. So yeah, I think the first thing is to find your passion, and the next, you know, like, yeah, focus on the next after.
Man, I think that's the perfect message. That's the inspiration that I hope people will get from having seen you talk about what you do, and inspire them to do what they would love to do. It's really cool. Thanks, Laci, for sharing that with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for providing me with the tools to be able to do what I do.
You're welcome. But just before I let you go, is there a way for people to follow you, or you have some socials or a website or anything that you'd like to mention?
I mean, if people want to see my work on my web page, kobulsky.com, I have my videos and pictures, and then I have the usuals, you know, the Instagram at Kobulsky or YouTube. So, but you can find everything through the web page. I think that would be the easiest option, kobulsky.com.
Great. Thanks, Laci. Okay, cool. So now that we've seen a little bit about, hopefully you've become inspired by what Laci does, and have started to formulate some thoughts in your own head about what you do and what you might be able to do differently, and how you might be able to turn your passion into more art. Let's turn our attention a little bit to the more technical side. And I have to apologize to both Amber and Tim, because I don't remember what order we were going to go in. So I'm going to call on Tim first and hope that that's okay. But Tim, as we said at the beginning, you are with HP, based out of Germany. And Laci talked a lot about the laptops and the form factor of helping him do what he does. So maybe you can give us a little bit more detail about what you guys have.
Yeah, of course. Again, it's a pleasure to be here. And in fact, what Laci's just stated, a few things re-rolled my perception onto some of the work as well. I have to state, because it's always good to get a fresh input. We are always a little bit, I don't know, torn into this commercial world, and the creator aspect of the software, of the product we offer is a lot of time unseen. And then talking and having a venue like this is really inspiring also for us at HP. Therefore, also good to hear this one. Yeah, and I'm here to actually present a little bit more about our ZBOOK and Z lineup. The Z line at HP is basically the line for professionals, for creators, where we try to incorporate as much as possible certifications for our software providers like you at Magix and so forth, that every creator out there can be sure that with the hardware at hand, he can create the best possible outcome of his work. And in particular, I'm excited about also announcing a little bit more the Studio G8, which I'm a little bit more focusing on right now, because it will hit the market, I think, in a few months. And this is one of our products which is really portable, but still really powerful. And I think this is the best combination which we can offer for a creator like Laci. The other one I'm really excited about is obviously sharing a little bit more in terms of what the ZBOOK and the Z lineup is all about. Next to ISV certifications, it's really durable. And I think this is one of the main stories behind it. We have a really long test process behind the products to ensure that whether it's on a beach or whether it will be at home, the products run smoothly. and can also withstand maybe a small drop from a few meters to actually ensure that they are used as a tool, right? And this is what we all want to. And the other one aspect I would really want to touch about is of course sustainability, right? We all, and in particular HP as someone who manufactures devices, we always have to be cautious about our sustainable impact, and looking in particular at how these products are made. It's an aluminium chassis. All of the devices are up to a certain degree recyclable, and I think this is also something for the good conscience, which we all sell obviously, and also want to bring towards you guys in the webinar, to actually feel a little bit more better with what you guys are using when you do your creative work. And this will be my small introduction. Bill, maybe to the next slide to actually go to a little bit more details in terms of what these products are capable of, right? So looking at the Studio G8, just announced, you saw it in the video, the design didn't really change. Obviously, they are packed with a lot of performance. This mostly comes from Intel. We use here the newest Intel Tiger Lake or 11th gen processors. And obviously, it has to be, with all of this power, still be a mobile device. So with less than 4 pounds, it's really mobile device and still has a long-lasting battery. If you want to do it on the go, Laci, I did understand you don't want to be rendering on the go, but there might be other creators who actually enjoy it. Next to this, obviously, color is one of the most important points a creator might have in mind, and in particular, when doing photography, I think the true tone of the color is something you really have to have a look on if you want to post something, and it looks different on the platform versus what you just edited. And that's in fact why we use so-called dream color displays. Maybe Bill, to the next slide, and then I will dig a little bit deeper into this topic. So what we actually use, and what most commonly used, is an 99% sRGB tone, but what we offer here in the ZBOOK Studio is in fact a 100% DCI P3, so Pantone's validated color scheme. This is a technology we developed a few years ago with DreamWorks, and in fact it's to actually get the same input as output, identical. And I think this is something you really enjoy as a creative mind, to actually see and film and maybe make a photo of what you just witnessed, and then also have the same experience on the display where you want to do some editing, want to do some color grading, to actually see how it will then also be sent out or maybe shared on some of the platforms. Another point, obviously, is that next to the mobile devices we offer, there might be a use case for some desk-based devices. Still, the desk-based devices are getting a little bit less, but they still play a little bit of an important role for us at HP. So Bill, if you go to the next slide, please. We also offer obviously desk-based workstations, and for the use case of most of the, I think, creative users, they might be a little bit overpowered, but the advantage is obviously clear. It's upgradability, it's a long life cycle, and you have the opportunity to just replace parts and maybe be on the current with the newest software releases if the demands are changing. And obviously our software, our photography, whether it will be 4K cameras right now, might change in the future, and you might need more power. And therefore we still see a lot of potential with all of these desk-based devices, although the trend rapidly goes to mobile, and I think we all can validate that. Just looking at what Intel provides in all of these devices would be on the next slide, Bill. So obviously all of these devices have to meet a certain standard to be validated, to be called Z, to be ISV certified, right? And what we offer from Intel here are several options in terms of processing power. The two main differentiators are Xeon versus Core processors. Xeon are more focused for the more professional work, I'd say, versus Core is a little bit more in terms of rendering, for instance, what we just now discussed here, right? So the main difference is the amount of cores. versus what the base frequency or the turbo frequency is on these chipsets. Obviously, with 11th Gen Intel, you also have this, and I think lastly you showed this Thunderbolt 4 connectivity for fast throughput from data, which is also quite useful, as well as obviously an onboard graphic cards, which can support all of these demanding solutions, demanding software renderings, which we have, and then on the go being able to share the best possible outcome, the best possible creation. What we actually have in store, and unfortunately this is only for Germany, Bill, maybe to the next slide, is a kind of promotion with the guys from Vegas to maybe ease you a little bit into our portfolio right now. And if you're from Germany, you can actually use this kind of promotion. We will give a free license of Cinema 4D and Redshift for the next 3 months when you purchase via Comline and HP, the two devices mentioned on the right side. And you will also gain a free access to the Vega Post Suite for the time being for 6 months. And I think this is a great deal to get and jump into the creative space. So if what Laci, in fact, just told you is something you want to try out, these are the devices to start with. But obviously, there's a lot more to going on into a creative mind. And I think my colleague Amber will share a little bit more on this one.
Thanks, Tim. Cool stuff. Yeah, Amber, that puts you in the driver's seat here.
All right, right on. So, hey y'all. If you're still with us, thanks for sticking it out. Here's my nerdy version to chat to you a bit about Intel. So, what I want to chat about a little bit today is that, as I said, I'm new to Intel, and to be super bold, I was like, I didn't even know, like, what does Intel do for creators? And so I want to talk to you a little bit about that today, of just understanding how deep this goes. And I'm just going to stay like in the shallow end of the kiddie pool if we hear. But if you want to geek out with us more later, there's obviously plenty of content to dig into that. But first, let me just tell you a little bit about me, like in terms of coming to Intel. My background is I'm actually an industrial designer. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design, where I was able to match up my love and passion for building things with understanding design process and design methodology. And what was so critical about that is that it gave me, art school gave me a framework of thinking, of approaching a problem. If you can't afford art school, I highly encourage you to look at the plethora of different, online schools and resources and things that you can go to that help you walk through this process. What was amazing for me in terms of studying industrial design is that I had a very problem-solving mindset. In my career, I've been immensely fortunate enough to work with just a huge array of fantastic companies. And that's honestly where I learned about filmmaking. I took my industrial design background, and working with these companies, I was able to learn about some of the most advanced workflows in the world, understand, and the end-to-end ecosystem as well, like the tools and peripherals that they were using to drive the machines that they were using and what they needed, and how their workflow might have varied across, the different disciplines. And so all that's to say is all right, let's talk about Intel, me joining Intel. What is Intel up to? So Intel is actually deeply involved with the creative audience. There's so much that goes in there because if you think of Intel kind of, I like to use this analogy to pollen, that it's an ingredient that then, proliferates across a lot of different things to help those components grow. We're a component that has to understand, is this a dandelion, or is this a alder tree, or, and then we have to take the needs of that particular platform or that particular demand and meet it. So what I want to talk about a little bit from the creation side is that, creation used to be pretty fun when we were kids, right? Crayons and Play-Doh are pretty straightforward devices to use in your creation process, but then we grow up and you move into the world of computing and advanced workflows. And the thing is that there's just so much more going on there in terms of what you're needing to edit, keep in mind, frame out. You have story, you have visual development, you have the story arc and the imagery that's representing that, and how you pull that all together while looking at it through this, lens, if you will, of your display. So what at least myself and my team are doing at Intel is that we want to change kind of this aspect of it being, we want to help creators where you're less aware of your tools so that you're more immersed and able to have a more thoughtless approach. Our vision is that, we really want to bring joy to digital creation and have that connection between, that sort of childlike fun aspect that you have in making something, the like, look, mom, look what I made type of aspect. And we think that we can do that by evolving the computing experience to be more instinctual, fun, and thoughtless. We do that by, as I said, mentioning that pollen component before, we're one component. We have to partner with people like Vegas, and we have to partner with people like HP, because no one man does it alone. And so we do this work with them, digging in and saying, okay, what is all the functionality that's happening on this back end? When is the CPU getting bound? When is the GPU getting bound? Like, when is our memory tapping out? And so we dig into those workflows and trying to understand, what do you really need that makes a difference? And is this a hardware silicon functionality, or is this a software integration? Is the software on Intel side? Is it a software with one of our partners? And HP does a brilliant job of that in terms of like bringing that all together in one package. Addressing a bit, there are a huge variety of creative disciplines, but focusing a bit on filmmaking today, you may want to understand, I'm going to get geeky on you for a second as to how does Intel apply to me? And so I have a little bit of a joke, next slide, on it's my Jeff Foxworthy version of, you might need a new computer if you can check Instagram and the time it takes your files to open. Style transfer is a state-of-the-art process in which no man without today's tools would embark on, because you'd be hand painting every frame. You can fry an egg on your laptop while it renders. Do not let your legs be burned, friends. Laptops in the olden days get hot. The average lifespan, particularly with creators, is around 3, sometimes 5 years that we hold on to these devices, and then they're slow down, which is you can't edit by the pool because your machine isn't powerful enough to be on the go with you, whether you be at home and then go somewhere, similar to, say, Laci's workflow, where he's like, I'm going to get a beefier machine and something that's a bit more hardcore, because when I sit down, I'm going to sit down and edit there. But I have my machine with me and it's reliable when I'm on shoot in case I need it for certain things or downloads or style checks. And then if you suffer dropped frames, like it's a dance move in the club, yep, super hardcore nerd here. All right, so let me tell you a little bit about the technology why that matters. So here's the thing with your files opening. You're like, why does this take so long? And you don't know why. You don't know what's causing it. And so something that a lot of people don't know is that there's something called PCIe Gen 4. Now, if you're one of the more technical creatives, then you're like, duh, I already know this, Ghost. But those lanes between Gen 3 and Gen 4, that bandwidth, if you think of a highway, it's like doubling the lanes of the highway. And having that direct connection allows your computer to open these massive files, increases those read and write speeds so that it doesn't slow down, and therefore doesn't slow your mind down. Things like style transfer, this is empowered by our AI framework and working with the guys at Vegas. That, again, it's not a one-man thing, right? Intel has their AI framework. Vegas has to do a lot of work in the integration and matching up their software. But now you can take, your entire film and apply a Van Gogh Starry Night, and cool, you have an absolutely righteous new way to look at your, what you're going to put together from a visual standpoint without having to be, say, an animator. You can fry an egg on your laptop. So if your computer is really old, there are amazing advancements in thermal optimization. So there's things like Intel has their dynamic tuning technology. There's also a bunch of things that we've done with advanced cooling systems. And they take it so that, when you have this really powerful device, it won't heat up like the dickens. Lastly, so editing by the pool. One thing I want to call out on this, I'm a little bit biased because I focus on mobile. When you think about your device and you think about your workflow and what you invest in, there's kind of two approaches that I'd love to make a recommendation on, which is that if you're someone that you just want the one machine, then, make sure that the notebook that you're looking at has the power that you need. And you can do that by reviewing different things. What I love about HP is that sometimes it can be really overwhelming when you're trying to say, like, I need a new creator computer. And you will get an amazing amount of Google results on this, whereas like HP makes it super easy. You just go to the ZBOOK section And then you can dig through. They have like a huge variety of different models to be able to suit like what your workflow power needs. And when you go and you look at that, you say, okay, I know that I want to have just one, mobile notebook, but make sure that when you're buying one, you're looking at, well, I know what I need today, but what might I need 2 or 3 years from now? So you might want to scale up or scale down depending on where you think you're going to go. And then lastly, things like the suffer drop frames. Quick sync video is something that Intel created and we integrated with Vegas, and that resolves that. So, or maybe just go and get a ZBOOK. Actually, I really am partial to the ZBOOKs. I think their manufacturing is beautiful. My last to wrap up here, friends don't like friends eat ramen. So going to what I was saying about buying your device and buying the right one, we have all suffered, like art is just always an expensive, if you're a creator, it's an expensive endeavor. So make sure that you're looking up the model that suits your workflow, as I said before, and don't buy one just because you are like, oh, I want to, buy the newest, buy it because it's going to make a difference for you, and make sure that you're getting one that then is an investment for you. I think back in the day, like when you start in art school, there's a tangibility of I'm upgrading from Crayola pencils to Prismacolors, right? It's a huge difference in the quality. Your computer is the same thing, except for now you're using this all the time. So you need to think of it like your pencils in terms of how you upgrade and when you upgrade and what you upgrade to. Thanks so much. I just want to thank you for your time. Next slide. I hope I didn't bore you all to death. Really stoked to be here at Intel. We have some exciting things coming in the coming years for how we're approaching this computing world. How do we make it feel as fun as possible? And that way it doesn't disrupt your mindset when you're working. So thank you to Magix and thank you to HP. We're really grateful to be a part of this.
Awesome. Thanks, Amber and Tim. You summed it up really nicely, Amber. It's fun, right? That's what this is all about. And it's really cool to me operating at more towards the creative level with our software to hear you guys talk from the technology level about the fact that you're having just as much fun as anybody else. And it's really, really gratifying to see that that's what this whole process is all about. From the beginning, from the low end, I don't mean low end, I mean the inside workings of Intel through the form factor, through the software, all the way up to the creators themselves. If this isn't fun, folks, why are we doing it, right? And to me, I just appreciate so much being a part of this creative process. It's why I enjoy what I do, and I love watching the results of Laci's work and the work of other creators out there. And I have to admit to sometimes geeking out and enjoying hearing about what's going on down under the hood, right? And so I just want to thank you all for being here and sharing your stories with us today. It was really, to me, it was a lot of fun to listen to all of you. I hope that all of you watching, I hope that you found inspiration in what you saw. Hopefully Laci's story touched you in a way that makes you say, hey, I can do that. Or gave you some ideas about your next production, or just made you feel better about what you're trying to do, because it's out there and you just have to go get it. At the same time, I hope that it helped to hear about some of the technology behind what you guys are doing. Again, I just feel privileged to be a part of this process, and we'll keep listening to you on both ends of the spectrum to do what we need to do in Vegas Pro to facilitate this whole process. So I think that wraps it up for today. I appreciate everybody for being here. Those of you that have tuned in, I just want to say, keep creating your art, keep doing what you do. There's enough trouble in this world that we don't need more of that. What we need more of is the beauty that you create with your videos, with your audio productions, with whatever media you're using. That's what we need more of, and that's what I hope that this presentation has inspired you to do more of. So until the next time, I hope we see you again in another presentation, or maybe better yet, we meet in person sometime. Until then, stay healthy, and so long. Thank you.